all you pedal nerds. Henning Pauli here with, I'm going to say an interesting review because I don't really know exactly how to describe the pedal we've got on the chopping block today, which is the Enhancifier by Disruptive Music Tech. It is described as a psychoacoustic clean boost. And whenever something is called psychoacoustic, it's some kind of mumbo jumbo, and maybe there's, I don't know, maybe they're wearing crystals around their necks and doing sage rituals. Who knows? But it does something. And the thing that it does is described by people as it's the always on pedal, because it does something that really gets you out of the mix. And we're going to explore that with different amps. I have stuff to bitch about as always, but that's fine. And they claim, which I have not tried, I'm going to try this with you live in the video, that it will make a modeler feel more like a tube amp. Okay, we're going to try this. I've got what's that thing called? HX Stomp on the table. And we're going to do that. And obviously, very quickly, you can hear it with some product shots with the Marshall 1959 modded by Marshall on and off. See if you can hear what it does. See if you can hear if you can see, whatever. Okay, so I also noodled around with it a little bit, and since it is a clean boost, always on kind of a thing, you might not necessarily say, oh, I can exactly hear what that does, but still, that's what we do. And I pumped it into the Victory MK Overdrive. That's a little green amp I have that's about $5,400. It's one of the finest amps on the market. And it actually made me feel as if that pedal still needs to be on. It made that amp even more. So now we get to the actual pedal. Here it is. And we're going to get straight to the bitching before we get to the, oh, this is actually cool. What it does and the control layout is a bit weird. And apparently this is also the smaller version of the pedal. There was a bigger, even more cumbersome one. This is all handmade, as far as I understand, in the US. It's a traditional aluminum chassis. However, it's a big motherfucker. I mean, that's my hand. Just look at it on the table. This is a big pedal. You will want to sacrifice some pedal board space for this. We've got a big, beautiful amp type light on there. With a pedal this size, why in the world wouldn't they make the ins and outs and also the 9 volts all top loaded? That makes no sense to me. That in addition to the size of the pedal on your pedal board, you're also sacrificing left and right space. So on the right side of the pedal, we got the input, and on the left side, we got the output, and a very inconveniently placed power jack. I don't want to say 9 volt because it can run up to 18, which is what they recommend. It is, however, chassis mounted. It is high quality stuff. The components are apparently very rare and high quality. I can only repeat what they told me. I'm not going to open it up. And even if I did, I don't know what I'm looking at. Talking about the power requirements, 18 volts is what they recommend it to run with. But also they said you should run it with a traditional power supply, not a switching power supply, a switching mode power supply. Those are the ones that are usually lighter, like the DC7, like the Walrus, like the Strymon. Really, the standard now is switching mode power supplies. And how that makes it different, I don't understand. But they said it doesn't really like the 18 volt from a switching mode power supply. And they asked me for this review to not use one. I don't find this very practical, because most of you will have a switching mode power supply on the pedal board. And then because you have this already cumbersome and rather large pedal, then putting an old school heavy ass power supply on it that usually doesn't have a lot of output on the outputs, milliamps, it has to work with the switching mode power supply as well. But again, we're not trying that. So on the table, I've got a old school power supply 4 from Joyo. That's a brick that can kill people. It's heavy, it's old school, and it probably has toroidal transformers in it or whatever. But that's what we're using on the 18 volt out, 100 milliamps. It's powering the pedal. So I did what they asked me to do. What do we have? We have a level. That's how much clean boost, if that's what it does. And it's doing more than that. We have a tight low frequency. So the more you go to the right, the tighter it gets. High frequency rich. So with one of the amps that we're going to try, actually, the more you go to the left, the more the high frequencies come through. So what that does exactly, we will find out. And the sizzle for the density saturation, we don't know. We're going to try out. This is kind of the setting that I liked, but obviously we'll try more. We'll try 3 different amps, clean and crunch, edge of breakup-y Marshall, and then a Voxy thing. And then we're going to go into a modeler. So first, clean amp, which is the amp that's right behind it. That's the Tone King Imperial. That's, of course, the premier pedal platform amp, if there ever was one. And that's what it sounds like. This is a little beat-up guitar from Holland. Don't know if you will want that. It's a Panucci. It's the Palantir because it looks like the thing from the Game of Rings, whatever the thing is. It's a masterpiece of a guitar. Possibly the best guitar I have. That's what it sounds like, which is important to know. I do have a gate on, as you could just hear, because when I go to the gainy amps, we don't want all the noise, because who wants to listen to that video? It's clearly pushing, okay? What it also clearly is doing is compressing the shit out of your signal. There's a punch. I would call it the punch pedal. It makes everything very attacky and really just smack. definitely compression happening and a high frequency boost, something psychoacoustic. Give me my crystals, whatever. But it changes the sound, but in a way that could be super cool. Like. So, country stuff. It adds an aggression, an edge of breakupiness, compression. It adds a whole bunch of things, which is pretty damn cool. So here. It definitely leaves a fingerprint on your sound. It's not the transparent, you don't know it's there pedal. No, you really know it's there, but you want it there. That's where we're coming from. Which is now really almost DI and boring, right? So within a band context, I can see that jumping out of a mix. I can see that being more audible because it's these piercing frequencies without being annoying. So that thins it out, and that's kind of what gives it that attack and that spark, that tight low frequency knob. So that adds density, the high frequency richness, density, and we could call it gain. And it kills a bit of that nice attack, so it smooths that out. Let's keep that around here. Let's see what the sizzle does. It smooths it out even more. it makes it smoother and mushier in a way. So let's see if we crank it up all the way here. That's a bit too attacky, let's say. And then you're softening that. Giving it more saturation and density again. I love that attackiness, but let's smooth it out a bit. Here we go. Now we're going to go into an amp that's already cranked. That's the Marshall 1959. That's pushing the amp so hard that it now sounds as if it's fuzzing out in the power amps, this good old blown up amp sound. And now we got this massive attack, which is really cool. That should be a band name. Really very attacky, which is for a band context, if you're riffing, I mean... Moving on to the Bad Cat, Black Cat. Is that what it is called? Yes, I can never remember. It's the Voxy one. I would really describe it as the Attackinator. It adds attack, can add gain and saturation, definitely brings out your guitar in a band context, no question. If rhythm, for example, and articulation is what you need, this adds it more than a compressor would, even though it clearly is compressing. I don't know what it does, but what it does is that it brings you out more. Let's go into a modeler and see if what they promise holds true. That's pretty much a great preset. I turned it on and it landed on Matchstick. I'm gonna go with that. A little bit of reverb, a little bit of overdrive, kind of matchless, Voxy. And good, it's a Helix, but it's a modeler. So the richness that we just experienced is not there. Yes, it does make a modeler better. That a bit of film that always feels like is on it is gone. Honestly, I want that in front of my Helix. No question about it. We're done here. We pumped it into amps, we played it on track, we put it in a modeler. We're making it big now. Thank you, Leslie. Enhancifier clocks in at, I don't know, I have the website open, $275. Made in the US, handmade, fairy dust parts. Okay, I think it's too big. I think the ins and outs should be on the top. Do I know any other pedal that does what it does? Can't think of one. You could maybe have an EQ and a compressor and a boost. That'll clock in more, eat up more space on your pedal board. So it does what it does in a unique way. And that's what you pay for. And if that's what you want, I'm going to link below to their website. Get it, don't get it, up to you. They commissioned this video, which is nice. Thank you. Thank you, Disruptive Music Tech. And that's it. Please subscribe, follow, all that, Instagram, blah, 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 socials. That's the life we live now. And animals at the end.